Level 1. The Amateur. It starts in your bedroom at 2 a.m., lit by nothing but a ring light and the glow of 3 monitors. You've just downloaded your first rigging software. A cheap live 2D model you commissioned for $80 sits on your screen. Stiff, uncanny, blinking a half-second too slow. Your microphone is a $30 USB condenser you bought secondhand. Your studio is a closet with a blanket nailed to the wall for sound dampening. You go live. 4 viewers. One of them is your cousin. You talk for 2 hours about nothing. Your day, a game you're playing, a joke that doesn't land. You end the stream feeling like you screamed into a void and the void yawned back. But something keeps you going. A single comment, buried in the chat log. Your model's smile is kinda creepy, but I liked listening to you talk. That's it. That's the hook. Someone, somewhere, listened. You don't know it yet, but you've just taken the first step into an industry that will consume your identity, monetize your loneliness, and eventually ask you to decide where the person ends and the product begins. Level 2. The grind 4 viewers become 40. 40 becomes 400. You upgrade your rig, a real live 2D artist this time, someone who actually understands micro expressions, someone who charges what you used to make in a month. You go into debt for it. You tell yourself it's an investment. You stream 5 nights a week now. Your sleep schedule collapses first, then your other hobbies, then most of your friendships, the ones that can't survive you constantly checking chat mid-conversation. You learn the algorithm the way other people learn a second language. You learn that vulnerability performs better than joy. That a slightly too personal confession about your anxiety gets 3 times the engagement of a gaming highlight. You learn to cry a little, strategically, on stream, and you tell yourself it's genuine, because it mostly is, and that's the part that should scare you. Your avatar becomes more recognizable than your actual face to strangers on the street. You start referring to yourself, out loud in the third person. She wouldn't say that. He's not like that. Separating yourself from the character you built to survive the algorithm. You haven't noticed yet, but the character is winning. Level 3. The breakthrough clip of you goes viral. 14 seconds. Out of context. It doesn't matter. The number matters. Overnight, your subscriber count triples. Brands start emailing. A mobile game wants a sponsored stream. An energy drink company wants your face, your avatar's face, on a limited can. You say yes to everything because you remember the 4 viewer nights and you're terrified they're waiting just behind the next slow month to drag you back. You hire your first editor, then a thumbnail artist, then someone to manage your Discord because it's grown into thousands of members, and some of them have started saying things that make your skin crawl. Not threats, not yet, just an intensity that feels less like fandom and more like ownership. One fan sends a 4,000-word essay analyzing your character arc as though you are a scripted narrative and not a person choosing what to reveal about herself for money. You read the whole thing. You can't stop reading things like that anymore. Your income now depends entirely on people believing the version of you they've built in their heads is real. And every day, the gap between that version and the exhausted person behind the rig gets a little wider. Level 4. The company. A talent agency approaches you. Not a scam this time, a real one, backed by a Japanese VTuber conglomerate expanding into the West. They offer you a contract, a salary, a production team, a state-of-the-art motion capture suit, a say in your own model redesign. You sign without reading past the compensation section. The redesign takes 6 weeks. When it's done, you barely recognize her. Sleeker, younger looking, optimized by a team that ran A/B tests on eye size and hair color against competitor idols. They tell you the changes tested 23% better with your target demographic. You nod, you say she looks great. You mean it, mostly. The contract has clauses you didn't notice. The company owns your character design outright. If you ever leave, the avatar, the face millions of people associate with your voice, your jokes, your late-night confessions, stays behind. You would have to start over as someone new and take your entire audience's trust with you into a void, hoping they follow a stranger. You are technically replaceable. There is language in the contract buried in Section 14 about character continuity in the event of talent transition. You don't ask what that means. You already suspect. Level 5, the performance. You do 8 hours of content a day now. Streaming, recording, motion capture sessions for a music video, voice lines for a mobile game tie-in. Your management schedules your bathroom breaks, the suit you wear for full-body tracking chafes at the shoulders after hour 4. You've stopped noticing. On stage, a real stage at a convention, in front of 11,000 people who paid to watch a projection of your movements dance to a song you didn't write, you perform flawlessly. Backstage, out of camera range, you sit on a folding chair and don't speak to anyone for 20 minutes. Your manager checks a clipboard. Next to slot, meet and greet livestream. 40 minutes, smile the entire time. A fan at the meet and greet cries when your avatar says her name. She tells you that you saved her life during a hard year. You say the right thing. You always say the right thing now. You've said some version of it 400 times. You mean it every single time, and that's what unsettles you on the drive home. That sincerity has become a skill you can perform on command, the same way you can hit a dance cue or land a joke. You realize you haven't had an unscripted conversation with another human being in 11 days. Level 6. The rival. The company debuts a second idol. Younger design language, next-gen facial rigging, a voice actor half your age. Internal analytics, which you're not supposed to see, but someone on the editing team shows you anyway, quietly, like a warning. Put her projected first-year engagement above your current numbers. You watch your own metrics for the first time in months, not out of vanity, out of fear. You catalog every video where your view count dipped, cross-reference it against days you streamed while visibly tired, days your voice sounded flat. You start optimizing your own exhaustion. You learn which kind of tired performs as relatable and which kind performs as burned out and bad for the brand. Your manager begins referring to the new idol and you as the roster, collectively, in emails you're accidentally CEC'd on. You are, for the first time, explicitly aware that you are one product line among several, interchangeable in a spreadsheet, however irreplaceable you might feel to the fans still sending you letters. You stop sleeping well, not because of the workload anymore, because you've started to understand the shape of what comes next in an industry that never stops manufacturing your replacement. Level 7. The upgrade. The company announces a partnership with an AI voice synthesis lab. The pitch in the meeting is framed as a gift, an AI model trained on 8,000 hours of your recorded voice, capable of generating new lines, new streams, new songs, without you physically present. They call it scalability. They call it protecting your legacy in case of burnout. They ask you to sign a voice likeness license, and this time you read every word because Level 4 taught you to. The clause that stops you cold, the AI-generated content, once trained, is owned by the company in perpetuity, meaning your voice, cloned and synthetic, could theoretically keep releasing content indefinitely, generating revenue, whether you're contracted, retired, or gone entirely. You ask what happens if you say no. Your manager's smile doesn't change, but something behind it does. He tells you the other members of the roster have already signed. You think about the fan who cried at the meet and greet. You wonder if, 5 years from now, she'll be crying at a voice that sounds like you, saying words you never chose, generated by a system that learned your cadence better than most people ever learned your name. You sign anyway. You tell yourself it's just insurance. You don't fully believe it. Level 8. The Ghost. The AI model launches quietly. A bonus content tier for top-tier subscribers, short clips, a birthday message generator, nothing dramatic. Then a fan posts a comparison video. Your real stream from 6 months ago, side by side with an AI-generated clip from last week. They can't tell the difference. Neither, disturbingly, can you. Not on the first watch. The comment section is full of people saying they prefer the AI version. More responsive, always available, never tired, never has an off day. One comment reads simply, "Honestly, better than the real thing, LOL." It has 11,000 likes. You start seeing your synthetic voice used in contexts you never approved. A fan-made compilation, a promotional bumper for a product you'd never endorse, edited together by someone who found a loophole in the licensing terms. Legal says it's within acceptable use. You say nothing, because saying something means admitting how much control you've already lost. You log into your own account one night and can't immediately tell whether the last stream in your history was one you did or one the system generated during a scheduled AI-assisted content day your management added to the calendar without asking. Level 9. The Disappearance. You take a break. Officially, it's wellness leave. Unofficially, everyone in the fandom knows what that phrase means now. It's happened to 3 other idols on the roster this year alone, one of whom never came back. The AI keeps posting. The engagement doesn't dip. If anything, it climbs slightly, because the AI never cancels a stream for a panic attack, never sounds hoarse from crying the night before. You watch your own community from the outside for the first time in years. You watch them love a version of you that requires no maintenance, no rest, no truth. You watch a fan in the Discord write, "I feel like I know her better than my own sister," underneath a stream you have never seen before, that you did not make, in a voice built from a version of you that no longer exists, the version from 3 years ago, before the exhaustion changed the way you spoke. You realize the terrifying arithmetic of the entire industry, all at once. An audience doesn't need you. It only ever needed the feeling of you. And that feeling, it turns out, is exactly what technology was built to manufacture without a human being attached to it at all. Level 10. Every level you come back, eventually. You always do. Not because the company forces you, but because the silence of not performing is somehow louder than the exhaustion of performing ever was. You don't know how to be a person the algorithm hasn't shaped anymore. Your first stream back, you sit in front of the rig for 11 minutes before going live. You look at the model, her face, redesigned by committee, optimized by data, voiced in perpetuity by a machine that learned to imitate the parts of you the company found profitable. You wonder, honestly wonder, which one of you the fans are actually waiting for. You go live anyway. The chat floods with hearts. Someone writes, "We missed you so much." You don't know if they mean you or her or the AI or some composite of all three that lives only in the space between a screen and a lonely person's need to be less alone. You smile, your real smile, underneath the rig, the one nobody can see. You say the line you always say to open a stream, the one you've said 10,000 times, the one that used to mean something specific to you and now means whatever 11,000 people need it to mean. Hey everyone, I'm back. You don't specify who I is anymore. You've learned that the audience will decide that for themselves, and that in this industry, the version of you they choose to believe in is the only version that was ever really for sale.